evolved to mobilize the growing mass of electorates to unite the government and to promote governance. On today's episode of the Thing Around the Process, we'll be discussing the role of political parties in Nigeria. And as usual, Zigwai and I won't be doing this alone. We have a guest here with us. She is Simi Fajemirokun. I hope I got that pronunciation correctly. She's a senior partner at Acropolis Consulting, where she bears her vast experience in project consulting and management. She managed the National Campaign Situation Room in 2019 for the APC presidential campaign. She has also run for the House of Representatives under the APC. So who is best to talk to us about political parties in Nigeria? Welcome, Simi. Thank you for being here. Okay, I think my first question would be really, what do you think, in your opinion, is the basic role or basic task that political parties have in Nigeria? And I ask because, in Nigeria, people continue to wonder, and there are doubts whether political parties are performing the roles that, or whether they have the interest of people at heart, or they just work to satisfy the benefits or the interests of political members. And so I'm curious to know what exactly is their role so that we don't misplace it.
Well, in the Nigerian electoral law, there's no room for independent candidacy. So, in simple terms, political parties are platforms for those who are interested in getting an elected office. So it's a vehicle. And it's a vehicle for a lot of people a vehicle of expression for people's political aspirations. So since there's no independent candidacy, you have to go to the parties, and that's primarily their role, is to be a political platform where those from the ward level to the local government level to the House of Reps, Senate, and those are the elected offices. And so therefore you run on a party platform. So primarily in Nigeria, that's the role it plays. Because by law, there's no room for the independent candidacy. Of course, there could be much more. Political parties are supposed to have ideology and some kind of values and principles that rallies people together. But we don't see much of that, in Nigeria. So I'll just leave it as a platform for people to run for political offices.
So in your opinion, that's the base, that's really the role.
That's the fundamental role.
Okay, so I'm actually glad you mentioned ideologies and values, because I was actually going to ask that, and that's something that has been bothering me, because a lot of times we see manifestos, especially during elections, that seem like replications across all political parties, and it begs to wonder if these political parties have their own individual specific values and ideologies, because I feel that if they did, then we should have unique manifestos that actually reach the people. So I'm asking, do you think that political parties are more harmful than beneficial to Nigerian democracy and people as a whole? Or, I don't know, is it more harmful or beneficial to Nigerian democracy?
It definitely can't be harmful, because if you look at the 2015 elections, there were over 76 political parties registered. The pain of that, the length of the ballot box, just gives you an idea. Imagine take away the political party and then let everybody be able to. So would INEC be printing, sheets as high as skyscrapers for people to be able to vote for someone? So from an organizational standpoint, it serves its purpose. And it was even better, it's getting better, because in the 2019 elections, a lot of those parties were deregistered, and then we were left with about 18, I believe. 18 political parties. And so as we go along, we'll begin to draw more value. But the way it has been is that you wake up in the morning, you say, okay, power of the people, and PPP, RP or something, paint your house red, yellow, and green, and that's your political party started. Our democracy is growing, and I believe we will get there to the point where it's based on philosophy, on values, on principles. Manifestos seem like they're possibly like all the same. There's slight variances out of the, and by law, each political party has to have a constitution that governs itself. But the constitution is just because right now is because it is what is required by law. It is not culturally there. So when you say, okay, someone is APC or someone is PDP or someone is Labour, or you don't really know what that means. What comes off is personalities. So personalities come to your mind, and maybe the symbol of the broom or the umbrella, but nothing else really comes to your mind, which shows that what we're doing is we're not operating optimally with our political parties. But it's definitely not harmful. Like I said, the chaos you would have without political parties makes you appreciate them for what they are organization-wise. But outside of the organization of it, could it be much more optimized? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. Not just from manifestos, because just the constitution, how does it govern itself? And which is why when you have these crises within parties, there's really, I think that's maybe the only time people go, what does the constitution say? Oh, okay, we want to remove this national chairman. Okay, what does the constitution? It's the only time. It's almost like when you want to get away with something and you want to know what the constitution is of your party, and also what the law is. But I think they're so critical to our democracy, where we absolutely need political parties, and we need them to function optimally moving forward.
Yeah, and I like that she asked that question of being harmful or being beneficial, because for me personally, I feel like if there are political parties in a democracy, I feel like part of the things, values that should guide them should be actually to see that government of the country is moving, is growing, is developing, and all that, and see that the people are enjoying the fruits of democracy, in quotes. So that leads me to asking the influence of, or what do you think the influence of the political parties is to the government, is to governance as well. Like, so let me put it this way. So do you feel that, because we have a lot of parties, really, and I'm finding it difficult to agree or to believe that a political party is not selfish, as opposed to being very liberal. So, and that makes me feel that if a political party is in office, all they're going to do, all the entire work is to serve the interest of the political party and the members of the political party, and I think that comes against the role of trying to ensure that governance is working for the people. So, and that leads me to ask you, what do you think the influence of political parties are to governance? Do you think that political parties serve the interest of themselves alone, or do you think that they serve the interest of the people in general, without minding if there's an opposition party or not?
Again, it's a vehicle, so it doesn't have a personality. It doesn't. It's a vehicle to get from campaign into Asoro, or campaign into state government house, right? Or campaign into local government house, or campaign to ward councillor, right? So it doesn't have a personality, it's a platform, it's a vehicle, right? Now you would like cars, you like the Mercedes because it's sleeker, or you like the BMW because it's firmer on ground. Again, we don't really have those distinctions in our political party systems. So why do we get excited, or not even those that get involved in campaigns, and then how is there disconnect when it comes to governance? And it is primarily because I strongly believe that if our political systems operated like systems, right, and not so much just a platform, then it will translate better to governance post-campaign. So what you have is that, okay, you find people carrying the broom or the umbrella or whatever else symbol, touring the country or touring the states, and promising people the things that free education, free meals for students, jobs, green jobs, will help our women empowerment, youth empowerment. And then we get into office, and there's nothing like that when you, or it's not delivered in the same way, the campaign. The nature of a campaign is for you to be excited. So I do have to tell you things to excite the people. I'm not going to say, hey, Nigeria is so difficult right now. It's going to be super impossible to get us where we want to get to. But give me a chance anyway. That's what, you're not going to see that. You're going to see, people are going to promise miracles. And I promise change overnight. And then when governance comes in, you see that, okay, it's not that easy. And also, we don't have a good transition culture. Right, so the last election represented like the first time of having 20 years of uninterrupted democracy, which is tiny in the grand scheme of things, right? Compared to how old we are as an independent nation, 60 years. So we have more experience outside of democracy than we do have in democracy. So what does that mean? Well, that means that we don't really have political systems that work. And what was handed down to you is more military systems that is now trying to align with democracy that doesn't really work, right? So you now have a disconnect. So I think we should be hopeful. I believe we should be hopeful, and the more, because each election actually gets considerably better, considerably more transparent, and not just election. Also governance, because now people are doing 100 days in office. That shows you that they're now connecting campaign, especially, thank God for the civil society organizations who make it their day job to make sure that they follow up with campaign promises. That, okay, this man promises 100 days, and did you remember Lagos? They're like, oh, 100 days, Papa will be sorted. No, I didn't mean it. What I meant to say was, but that accountability is promising. And it's that promise that we can just continue to abide by. It's going to get better. So once you do 100 days, and now you're doing 1 year in office. In 1999, this thing's another. 2003, there was like, okay, where's the buzz election, and then that was it. On to the next one. But people are actually being held accountable. Like you said, you were going to reduce the price of this, or you're going to give markets or do infrastructure. Then he has to come out, and also people have to also be realistic. A road cannot be built in 100 days. The man is just putting his team together. So we also as a people, so it's both ways. We also, between the campaign promises, as we're doing yay, we should also remember that how realistic. And so therefore we start going for plans as opposed to who can excite us the most. So we can even start reading. How many of us outside of the campaigns that we watch on TV go and actually read a candidate's how many of us read it? We don't. We are also guilty of the miracle services. And this one is not working. How? What metric are you using to say it didn't work? It's not working. What did he promise you? You can't answer.
I like the point you're making. Very true. We can't run away from the fact that governance process is both ways, the people and the elected representatives. That brings me to the question of opposition, the role of the opposition. How would you say the opposition in Nigeria is faring? I wouldn't want to start comparing because I'm not, okay, I like to actually use other people's performances to see how I can be better, but I do not like to use comparison to say, okay, no, we all have our individual differences. So what would you say the role of the opposition is in Nigeria, and how can they do better? Because I believe we can do way better than what we're doing now.
The role of the opposition is extremely vital. It's literally oxygen to Nigeria's democracy. Otherwise, if the role of the opposition was doing what it's supposed to do at, like, again, optimum level, then you wouldn't really need the interventions of the civil society. Now, civil society is the third wing of our, so there's the political party and then there's the third wing, which is because they're so vital, because they are putting in the resources, the energy, the time, right, that it takes to constructively critique policies, constructively critique timing of things and budgets. So they're releasing budgets, making it available. When they don't want to provide it, they present to government agencies, Freedom of Information Act. A proper opposition should be on the heel of the current, where, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, where by that time, you wouldn't, but the role of civil society is so large, and a lot of our civil societies are not really funded from the country, they're funded from the domain. So technically, our opposition is from the abroad, right? It's right.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be much more relevant if we? So that's why you find some causes that may not be what is hurting the common Nigerian, but that's what the donors are paying for. Right? But that's not the number one on the Nigerian mind. That's the role of the opposition. The civil societies are not supposed to be opposition. They're supposed to be what they are, community engagements and all of that, and making and tracking. Yes, they can do that, but primarily it's the opposition, so that they're doing polling. Nigerians are not happy about security, and it's based by data. It's not based on someone shouting on Twitter. It's not a Twitter fight. It's not a Facebook fight. It's not this person is a foolish man, the useless leader, Jonathan or Buhari, and that's what you're saying. I'm like, that's really not what opposition is. What is that you put resources and you go and poll on this particular issue, and you bring it back to the ruling party and say, Nigerians are not happy with you. This is what they're experiencing on environment, this is what they're experiencing on water, this is what they're experiencing on education, this is what the women are, they're not happy with you, and we've done, it's not personal. It's not if we like you or not. Because a lot of these political, because they're platforms, people who have decapitated from one, they've gone to another, so they're not really distinct. So it doesn't mean, when personalities are fighting, it's not a fight for Nigeria. But if opposition is supposed to be doing what opposition is, they've got a think tank, like you have in the US. You've got the Republican think tank, you've got the Democratic think tank. So they're constantly feeling the pulse of the people and bringing that to the ruling party. Because what happens is that the ruling party, by nature, especially in Africa and Nigeria, where power is actually excessive, is naked, it's crude, right? People will get lost in the sauce. So we actually need the opposition party more than even, we need it more than we'd like to admit, because those are the ones that are supposed to be, cross-checking what's going on in the Senate, what's going on in the National Assembly,
Let's shift a bit to political party membership. Now, there is a belief that every adult citizen should be part of a political party in Nigeria.
Who has that belief?
People say, civil society say that if it's active citizenship, if you're really going to be active, you should be a part of a political party. But there seems to be a lot of secrecy first of all, in the operations of political parties, and then in the procedures of joining a political party. We don't have enough information. Why do you think there's this secrecy? First of all, do you believe there's a secrecy?
There's no secrecy.
Really?
No. What's the secrecy? Only I hid. I'm hiding from you. I'm doing my thing. You didn't come and check if I was what I was doing. So am I? Do I have a secret?
Okay, so would you say that there is enough information out there for people to know that political parties are not some, you don't have to be part of a political party only when you want to go into elected office? Does the common Nigerian citizen on the road, on the street, does that young child in secondary school, primary school understand that I do not have to want to run for election before I join a political party when I'm 18? Or is it information that is easily accessible?
Okay, let me ask you guys a question. I know you're the one asking questions. But have you ever heard on any platform, online or offline, that somebody wanted to join a political party and they were not allowed? Have you heard? Has it ever made news? I wanted to join and they did not allow me.
Nah.
So a lot of the times it's just, it's like the law of gravity. Do you understand? So there's a force that goes into it, there's a force that comes out of it. It's scientific, really. I know politics is social science, but it's still scientific nonetheless. So if people don't go and pick up their ID cards or don't go and get a driver's license, so that means the VIO or the issuing they say they're doing it in secret. They're not doing it in secret. Most of the buildings of the political parties they're not secrets, the flags are not hidden. You can see while you're driving, right, what political party this is. Even in the rural areas, you don't even see a lot of MTNs or Glo or the private sector, but you see a lot of political party flags, even in the hinterlands. So that lets you know that it's not so much that they're operating in secrets, it's that there's a generational gap. So the generation of 99 that rushed in to create these political parties are not the social media generation. They are also even not the media-friendly generation. They go about their business, they do what they need to do. It's a very, business approach to it. If I want to join, I join. I don't bring my brother or my friend or my sister. I don't post that, I'm about to join. So there's no zeitgeist in the air that, okay. But they amongst themselves that are part of the old boys club or the old guard, they know them. It's not done in secret. There's no oath. There's nothing, it's no secret. But the generational gap is that, okay, there's not a generation that is talking about politics, has the tools to engage, but is not engaging actively. And so you want to blame the political parties. No, the political parties are input output. It's what goes in comes out. So if the average age of those within the political party are 60 and above, you're going to get 60 and above behavior. It's if you want to come, then you come. You don't want to come, children. It's weird that I like to post, I'm in this, I'm coming here, I'm taking an interview here. That's our culture. So by the time you have a generation that goes into political parties and bring their own culture onto the parties, because the party is nothing but the culture of people that make it up. So if you now have, let's say by the next election, you have political parties where the average age is about late 20s, 30s that are getting involved, you will feel the openness of political parties, because now you're seeing it on social media, you're feeling it, people are posting pictures with their paraphernalia, with their hats, and then okay, and you go, oh, okay. But there's no secret about it. It's just, we just need to, and then the problem also, the reason, the governance part of it, right, is that within the party, party positions are not attractive, right, to the average Joe outside. Because everybody wants to be governor, everybody wants to be House of Rep, everybody wants to be, senator. Okay, but within the party, there's youth leader, there's woman leader, there's an admin, there's secretary, there's a party secretary. There's so many roles within the party, right, that people don't ever think of. So when you join a party, that's why it's very transactional. I'm joining because I want to get something from this. But if you check in the South African model, like you were just referencing secondary school, people from secondary school they have been joining the ANC because it was it was a part of their culture, it was part of their struggle for freedom. So the ANC is not just a political party, it's a freedom party, it's a culture. So you find little children selling candy or washing cars to raise money for the political party. So will ANC wake up in the morning and just do something? It can't.
Yeah.
But if we constantly have a transactional relationship with political parties, we continue to get what it is. Okay, it's quarter to midnight. Okay, and then we can join this. Which party? Okay, let me join this one because I want to be something. Not because you want to build, not because you want to, influence. Because you can, as a party secretary, ever much more powerful than a lot of these elected offices. Because you have a scope. Documentation of that party is in your hands.
Information. I like these responses, and it's bringing me to the point where I'm now thinking, how important is the idea of independent candidacy? Because so far we've been talking about the importance of political parties, but then there's also the noise around the need for independent candidacy. What do you think about that? And we would also like you to just give us bits on how anyone on the streets could easily be a part of a political party if they want to. Let's not assume that everybody has access to that information or would actually take out time to go and sort that information out. So firstly, what's your view on independent candidacy, and then how can I join a political party and be effective?
Yeah, but before how I can join, the information that I need to join, but again, what are the criteria that I should meet up to be able to join a political party? Is it just if I'm an adult citizen, or are there other things that
Okay, so those are 3 questions. The first one is very easy. I don't subscribe. I don't like the idea of independent candidacy. I think it's more politics. I think is where you find the best of teamwork. So I don't have to like you to work with you, but we're in this team together. So it's Arsenal versus Man U, and then you see strengths and the best of people come out. I think it's if you have